The results we're aiming for today will look a little something like this. This can be done on any DJI drone that has the Hyperlapse function. A few tips before starting. Make sure it's not a windy day. Make sure you have a decent amount of charge in your battery in the drone and the controller. And try to film areas that have a fair bit of movement. First up, the day shot. Because we're going to be slowing the shutter speed down, it's going to make the image too overexposed. So you'll need to put an ND filter on before you launch the drone into the air. In this example today, I'm going to be using ND 1000. Once the drone is in the air, don't worry if the picture looks too dark, because we're going to fix that in a minute. You need to be in Pro mode, so click on Auto in the bottom right of the screen. If it already says Pro, then don't click on it. Next, we need to switch into Hyperlapse mode, so press the button above Record and scroll down to Hyperlapse. For today's day to night hyperlapse, we're going to use waypoints, so once the menu appears, scroll to the bottom and select waypoint. We now need to change the shutter speed. This is the most important setting in making your video have motion blur or not. I like to have a lot of motion blur in my hyperlapses, so I'm going to choose 1 second. But because the image looks too dark, I'm going to increase the ISO to 200. You can see in the bottom right of the screen that my exposure meter is now at 0, which means the image is perfectly exposed. We now need to set our white balance, so click on white balance and press auto and let it set itself. Then make sure you click off auto so it locks it in. And lastly, make sure the resolution is set to 4K. Now we need to set our waypoints. Waypoints basically means where do you want the drone to fly. Click on set waypoint and position your drone where you want the hyperlapse to start. Once you're happy with the position, press the plus button in the first box. Then move the drone to the next position and press the plus icon in the second box. Keep doing this until you're happy with the route that you want. Try not to do too many movements, as it will make the final result look too shaky. Once you've set your waypoints, click on the 3 dots to the right hand side. First option is the sequence setting, which basically means do you want the drone to start at the first waypoint or the last waypoint and work its way back. And then the length. This is how long you want the final hyperlapse video to be. So for this example, I'm going to choose 6 seconds. Next is the interval, which for moving cars or clouds, 3 seconds is fine. You'll then see the details of the hyperlapse above, the duration of how long it's going to take to shoot and how many frames it will take. You now need to save the waypoint route, as when you come to do your nighttime hyperlapse, it needs to follow the same route as your day one. So to save the route, click on the little book icon in the top left, and the one right at the top that's named as today's date and time will be the one you want to save for later. So click on the name and rename it to whatever you want and press save. You're now ready to start the hyperlapse, so click on the record button and let it do its thing. You'll be able to see how long it's got left in the middle at the bottom of the screen. You'll get a 30-second warning when it's nearly done, and then once it's complete it will say create in video, so you're now ready to return it to home. And this is the final result. Just going back to shutter speed and why it's so important, here's the same hyperlapse but with a faster shutter speed of 1/4 of a second. You can see that there's not really any motion blur from the moving cars versus our original one of 1 second. You now need to create your nighttime hyperlapse, which obviously can't be done until it's dark. And just like that, it's now nighttime. So first things first, before you take off, remove the ND filter, as you won't need that now. Same as before, if you're in auto, then switch to pro. and change the shooting mode to hyperlapse and waypoint. Next, change your shutter speed to 1 second. This is even more important than the day one, as it will give us those cool light trails from the cars. Make sure your ISO is at 100. If the image is too dark, you can increase it to bring in more light, but I wouldn't go above 400. Next, set your white balance. So like earlier, click on white balance and then click auto, let it set itself, and click off auto to lock it in. Make sure the resolution is 4K. We now need to load the route we made earlier, so click on set waypoint, then click on the little book icon. You'll then see the route you saved earlier. Click on that and then click on the 3 dots to make sure your numbers are how you want them. You're now ready to start the hyperlapse, so hit record and let it do its thing. Once it's done, return it to home, and that's your day and night hyperlapse is done. Remember earlier I said not to do it when it's windy? Well, here's why. You can see the movement made the gimbal shake, which has made this hyperlapse unusable, but I did retake it, so here's the final result. You can see keeping the shutter at 1 second has given us those nice car light trails. And here's the same hyperlapse, but with a shutter speed of 1/4 of a second. You can see the difference, not really any light trails at all. So once you're happy with your day and night hyperlapses, we now need to import them into Premiere Pro or whatever video editing software you use and blend them together. For this example, I'm going to be using the day and night hyperlapses I created from Barcelona, as they are much more interesting than the high street ones I made earlier. So I'm now in Premiere Pro and it's time to blend the 2 clips together. Essentially all we're going to be doing is adding a cross dissolve in the middle of the 2 clips, but it's not as easy as that because we need to cut them both so they blend at the right time. You'll see what I mean in a minute. So when you've got your 2 clips on the timeline, we need to put the day one at the top and the nighttime one at the bottom. And then the first thing you need to do is scrub through and find the point in the video where you want it to cut. So where do you want the day to cut to the night? So for me it will be about here, because after that the drone starts to get low, so I think this is a good point to do the cut. So once you've found your point, get your razor tool and make your cut. Then delete the second bit of the day clip. Keeping your cursor where it is, get your razor tool again and make your cut on the nighttime clip in exactly the same place, and then delete the first bit of the nighttime bit. So now we're left with the first bit of the day hyperlapse and the last bit of the night hyperlapse. Drag the day one so it's now next to the night one, and then you play it through and bang, that's your cut. Obviously that doesn't look good, so we need to add a cross dissolve. So go into video transitions and then dissolve, and then get your cross dissolve and bang it in the middle. And now when we play it through, you'll see it looks much better, but there is something wrong with that. Let me play it again and see if you can spot it. Let me play it one more time. Right, let me scrub through it slowly now. So keep an eye on this building here as I scrub through it. See at the point where it crosses over, the day building is here and the night building is here. It's not aligned properly, which means everything else in the clip is not aligned either, which is giving it that kind of like echo effect. Don't know if you can see it. It's because everything is basically not aligned. So this is the fun bit. What we need to do is we need to make some cuts to the second clip so it aligns up with the first clip. So delete your cross dissolve zoom in so you've got a more accurate bit on this. And the key thing here is make small cuts, like don't go too hard too quick, just make small cuts, and then we'll keep replaying it, because you never know, you might cut it the first time and it might be done. So if we make literally just a small one there and we bring it back, and then we add the cross dissolve again and we play it. Cool, so that is looking better. If we go to the middle point, you can see that the night building now is a lot closer to the day building, so we're heading in the right direction. It's still not 100% exactly in the same place, so we still need to make another cut or some more cuts. So let's delete the cross dissolve and let's zoom in a little bit more so we've got a little bit more accurate way of cutting, and literally just one frame, I would say for this bit, even just one frame. Close the gap, add the cross dissolve, play it. It's still slightly out. See, it's still slightly out. I think another frame or two. So delete the cross dissolve and then do the same thing. Let's bring it one more frame, close the gap, cross dissolve, play it through. I think that might be it. Yeah, that looks pretty good. That looks it. That looks exactly it. So you see now the day building and the night building are exactly aligned, which means everything else in the clip is aligned as well. Can't believe I did that quick. The first time I did this, it took a lot longer, believe me. Let's play that one more time. Yeah, I think that's it. Bang on. Cool. So once you've done that, essentially that is your day to night hyperlapse done. Now find a reference point. That is the biggest thing I can tell you. Find a reference point like I just did with the building to help, right? Don't try to look at like the whole thing, just look at one thing, because once one thing is aligned, everything else will be aligned. And just do small cuts like we just did, like there, like frame by frame by frame, because we did what, like 2-3 frames and then we were done. Whereas if I just done like one big one, what would have happened is it would have been even more out of a line, then we would have had to add more to the clip again rather than taking away. And then we would just, because this is what happened to me the first time, I'll be honest, like what I did, let me delete the cross dissolve, I took away too much too quick, so I kind of went like that. And then if I close the gap there and then I add the cross dissolve, you can see now when I play it, the building before it was at the back, now it's at the front. See? Look here. The day building is now here, it's not aligned. So let's go back to how we were, because that was the perfect one. And there you go. That is your day to night hyperlapse done, complete. I've talked about Barcelona quite a few times in this video because this is essentially where this hyperlapse is from. If you want to check out the full video, I will leave a link in the description below.